I've always had a soft spot for Houndmaster, and honestly, I would consider her my main at this point. And I've come around bugs that I've never typically come across before. The typical lock-on being inconsistent, or the pathing bug being really the most common. As your local dog lady main, I just want to say I am over the bugs that she constantly has to deal with. And I think the reason why she doesn't get any love is because she's not one of the more played characters, but guess what? She'd probably be played more if you would actually fix her behavior. So I just want to show a few clips of the bugs I'm talking about, talk about the bugs that are most prevalent, what's apparently going to be fixed once the new 9.5.0 update comes out, and just, have a bit of a discussion. If you're a Houndmaster main, like the video. If you're a killer main, like the video. If you play DVD, like the video. You don't have a choice. So the most recent bug that I came across, which I have never seen anybody talk about, is not being able to use your power. And I'll put it on screen so you're able to actually see what I'm talking about. In this specific game, I was on mid-witch, kind of getting rolled, but having a bit of a bounce back later on in the game. And because my power wouldn't let me use chase, and it's not like the chase bug itself came through and I wasn't able to use snug, like my power was constantly flipping back and forth from search to chase, and it wouldn't let me actually use my power. And I've never really seen anybody talk about this, nor have I ever countered it before, but at the worst possible moment, I ended up encountering it, and it was brutal. I don't know if it exactly lost me the game, but it definitely didn't help, and I think if that wouldn't have happened, I actually would have pulled through. And then I came across another bug that I haven't really come across before up until the last maybe week or 2 weeks, which this is the one that apparently is going to be fixed in the newest 9.5.0 update, which is the stutter bug. Now, before you get at me and you're like, hey man, like it was fixed in the PTB, well, guess what? How many things are fixed in the PTB, then it goes live and they've never been fixed? We got 10 years worth of evidence for that. But essentially, you just stutter, you just move at like molasses speed, you're barely able to move, and it's just brutal to watch. I'll be honest, it kind of hurts the eyes. And how it happened to me, I don't know if it's consistent throughout of how it actually persists, but for me, I had my chase out, I fell down a hill, and then I sent out Snug, he got the grab, and that's when I constantly kept stuttering. And then eventually it just fixed itself, but it took a few minutes, which for obvious reasons is not cash money, But they say that one's gonna be fixed, so you know what? I'll let that one be. Another one, which I actually put a video out on my main channel, go check it out, is the fact that Snug's pull seems weaker after they fixed the FPS exploit. Before, you were able to use lower FPS against Snug in the Houndmaster, so he actually had a weaker pull rather than if you use just normal FPS. But I'm convinced that they actually made his pull the 30 FPS like exploit pull, the weaker one, rather than the normal pull that it was, unless that was wrong, but they never said anything about it. I don't know if I am, like, that's a full-blown placebo, but it feels so much more weaker than it's been. Then we have, of course, the elevation bug. You drop from elevation with Houndmaster, you could get your dog back immediately, or it's going to take 15 seconds. Sometimes you just don't know. And that one's pretty frustrating to deal with, because not that there's a lot of drop-downs in a lot of maps, but some maps have drop-downs, and, if someone's running balanced or whatever it is, and you just don't have a power, Like, I'm not bringing All Shaking Thunder. If I'm not mistaken, that's the least picked perk in the game at the moment, if not one of them. So I'm just an M1 killer, no dog, because it bugged out because I dropped from an elevation. We got Ghost Snug bug, which for me, when it usually happens, it's over a pallet. Like if I send out Snug right as the pallet's being thrown, he just goes away. I'll show you a clip of someone on Reddit that actually had it as well, where he went over the pallet and then he just went back, back on the other side of the pallet. Which I know AI in DVD is not very good. I mean, we have the Knight. We know exactly how that has turned out, but it's so frustrating because she's such a fun, good killer, and if she could just get her bugs kinked out, or the kinks worked out, she would be so fluid to play, man. And to round it all out, we have the two big ones that I can get over the other ones because for the most part they're inconsistent. But what is always consistent with the Houndmaster and the bugs and constantly playing her and have to dealing with it, and you just having to go through extra measures just to get to where you want to go. And the first one is the freaking pathing bug. And I don't know if it's a bug or the logic is just not there and behavior don't know exactly to encode it or to encode it, whatever. But it is so brutal the way Snug goes around certain certain objects sometimes that make no sense. Like, I could have a clear line of sight on a gen. I try to lock on, that takes 15 seconds because the lock on inconsistency is absolutely brutal for search. You send him out and then he just takes lefts and rights, and then right as before he gets to the gen to actually give you some hound sense, he just starts creeping, and then he gets to the gen, well, they're already gone by now. And I know he has a bark, like a lullaby, if you will, but it's still infuriating. The pathing makes no sense, and sometimes with the pathing, the thing about it is the pathing is so bad, you have to decide, like, hey, is it even worth me getting this haste to go on to the the patrol path, because the route I have to go to take that, it might just take longer or even the same amount of time if I just freaking go straight. And it's infuriating, because some maps I get it that are real cluttered, because like, you know, it's obviously not perfect, a perfect system of where he needs to path, but those just clear straight shots that make no sense as to why he goes the way that he goes, it is infuriating to constantly have to deal with. And like I said, the other bugs are, in my opinion, rather inconsistent. I don't get them every game, but you know what I get every game? At least 2 bad pathings that might cost me a gen. Is winning everything in Dead by Daylight? No, but the killer that I main, I want them to feel better, and it just seems like no matter what, she's probably going to always be a very buggy killer, so it might just be something I have to deal with. But the pathing logic for Snug is one of the more brutal things you have to deal with this killer, because it's so defeating whenever you're looking at a gen. He takes a hard left, he goes 8 meters, then cuts up. You're like, Snug, where are you even going? That makes no sense as to why you actually went that way. And then the last one, that it's not a bug, I don't think. I just don't think it's programmed correctly into the game or coded, whatever it is, whatever the reason, it's just a Houndmaster issue, is the lock-on inconsistency for whenever you're doing your search command. How many times are you locked on to a gen, so then you click your M1 or whatever your keybind is, or controller, whatever, and then like the path goes right in front of you, like literally like 4 or 5 meters. You're like, well, there goes 6 seconds that I wasted trying to lock onto that gen. And so the inconsistency there is pretty annoying, right? And then you have the inconsistency of actually trying to lock on to a gen or an exit gate. It is brutal, dude. If there was a consistent way to get past the inconsistency, if that makes any sense, that'd be great. Like, in theory, if I point to a gen, it should just lock on after 0.5 seconds or 0.35 seconds, whatever. But there's not. But what if there was a way where you could go left, right, up, and then it would immediately lock on, and you kind of like consistently get through that weird inconsistency of the power? Well, guess what? There's none of that. You just got to hope that it locks on. And even if it locks on, sometimes, like I said, it stops right in front of you for whatever reason, or it unlocks itself for no reason. And it actually, if you're, just say, in theory, you're going to a gen or trying to lock onto a gen, then it just like stops like in between where you are, where that gen is, halfway. That's all you're getting out of your path. And it is brutal. It's frustrating. And that's like a more consistent inconsistency rather than the stutter bug or the elevation bug or Snug going ghost. Pathing and the lock-on inconsistency are just like the true hit of the killer that are brutal to constantly have to deal with. The pathing is brutal, and the lock-on, just trying to lock on something. And I get it, like whenever like you're walking across the map or whatever, and there's 2 gens, like the auras are stacked on each other. If that was like the worst case scenario for the inconsistency of the lock-on, I would understand that. You'd have to go a little bit left or a little bit right to get to that back gen, rather, you know, like I understand like something's blocking the lock-on to get to that back gen, but you have no control on if it's going to actually lock on or not. And it might take 2 seconds, and it might take freaking 40, dude. You don't even know. Like fighting the lock-on mechanic is brutal. And I've had people before tell me that you need to use her finger and all this stuff, and I've come to the conclusion that does not work. I have not found a consistent way to lock on. My biggest thing I've found, not even consistent, but a better way is to go drag it up and then down. So like you drag it above the gen to the gen, and sometimes it'll lock on, but then that's where it comes in. Like I can maybe lock on faster, but then me dragging it down, it'll unlock, and that's where I get that shorter patrol path. So it's brutal. I love Houndmaster. I am Houndmaster main through and through. Kick and Twitch down in the description if you ever want to watch me play without a mic, because I usually stream when my kids go to bed. So I just like to lock in and have fun and play, try to win, all that stuff. But it's just brutal, man. I love the Houndmaster. I wish he got more love, not only from the community, but especially the devs. We don't really get cosmetics. I mean, like, it just sucks. For original chapter, it got left in the dust, I will say. And I just wish he would get more love. We'll see with the 9.5.0 if the stutter bug fixes, because that is a brutal one to deal with. I've seen people say like you can like interact with a locker or whatever and it fixes it, but you shouldn't be having to do that to get through a bug, if that makes sense, if you're mid chase or whatever. But let me know down below what you think. And yeah, I'm done yapping. I think I'm gonna start posting Houndmaster content on this channel because I really love the Houndmaster and not many people play her, I will say. So I don't know, but I'm done yapping, I promise. And you'll see a video on this channel eventually. Deuces.